Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25. Chapter 26, Text 1. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Atate sampravakshyami tatvanam lakshanam pritak yadviditva vimucheta purusha prakritair gunaihi. Translation. The personality of Godhead, Kapila, continued, My dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of the Absolute Truth, knowing which any person can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, only through devotional service, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. As stated in the Bhagavatam, the object of devotional service is Mam, Krishna, and as explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, to understand Krishna means to understand Krishna in his personal form, with his internal energy, his external energy, his expansions, and his incarnations. There are many diverse departments of knowledge in understanding Krishna. Sankhya philosophy is especially meant for persons who are conditioned by this material world. It is generally understood by the Parampara system or by disciplic succession to be the science of devotional service. Preliminary studies of devotional service have already been explained. Now the analytical study of devotional service will be explained by the Lord, who says that by such an analytical study one becomes freed from the modes of material nature. The same assertion is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Tato mam tattvato gyatva. By understanding the Lord according to various categories, one can become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. This is also explained here. By understanding the science of devotional service in Sankhya philosophy, one can become free from the modes of material nature. The eternal self, after being freed from the spell of material nature, becomes eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. As long as one has even a slight desire to enjoy or lord it over material nature, there is no chance of his being freed from the influence of nature's material modes. Therefore, one has to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead analytically, as explained in the Sankhya system of philosophy by Lord Kapiladev. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Ata te sampravakshyami tatvanam lakshanam pritak yadviditva vimucheta purusha prakritar gunaihi. The personality of Godhead, Kapila, continued, My dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of the Absolute Truth, knowing which any person can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature. So chapter 26 starts, the title of chapter 26 of the third canto is Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. So Lord Kapiladev is explaining Sankhya philosophy, but Sankhya philosophy that is not atheistic. There was Kapila, who was atheistic Kapila, and he was also explaining and analyzing the material nature, but he didn't put God in the center. Now, this verse and purport is very much related with the modern people who many of them are attracted to modern science. They like to analyze everything scientifically, they like to experiment, they like to see everything with their eyes, they like to test in the test tubes. So they call it science, but Srila Prabhupada explains that science is imperfect. Why? Because the scientists have imperfect senses. So how can someone with imperfect senses, how can they actually do any kind of perfect experiment? The instruments they have made are imperfect. Their whole premise is imperfect, so the instrument they have is imperfect, their senses are imperfect, their whole idea how to prove something is imperfect. So how can their conclusions be imperfect? And we have learned that there is 3 ways of acquiring knowledge: pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda. And pratyaksha is a direct perception, anumana is speculation, and shabda is getting knowledge from the higher authorities. Now you may say, getting knowledge from the higher authorities is uncertain. How can I be sure that it is true? Well, that's a valid question. But also, how can you be sure that pratyaksha and anumana are true? If our eyes are faulty, how can we see actually the reality? How can we see properly? And speculation is always uncertain because you're guessing. You're just guessing. You think, maybe it's like this or maybe it's like that. And Srila Prabhupada gives an example of several blind men trying to describe how the elephant looks like by touching different parts of elephant's body. And somebody would say that the elephant is like a snake, somebody would say that the elephant is like a trunk of a tree, depending on which part they were touching and trying to understand the form of the elephant. So basically, the modern science is in darkness. But now we have occasionally some scientists. For example, there was one scientist who was, following the birth of a child. And he's actually explaining how there must be some intelligence because this incredible thing called the birth of a child and the development of a seed into a form of a body that will become a little human being. So we can choose to believe modern scientists who are conditioned souls like us, maybe a little bit more materially intelligent, but still they are actually conditioned by what is described is this verse, prakritai gunaihi. Prakritai gunaihi. Purusha prakritai gunaihi, the persons who are conditioned by the modes of material nature. And now, what is proposed here is that by understanding how everything is designed by the Lord, analytically, one can become free from the modes of material nature. Now, as far as I understand, along with this understanding, actually, we need also Lord's mercy. Our own effort to understand, our own effort to do something, it's not enough for success. So we are not the only doer. What we need for success is also Lord's mercy. So our success formula is personal effort plus Lord's mercy equals success. And Lord's mercy is unmistakable, it's always there. He is always waiting to bestow His mercy upon us. But our understanding of mercy is actually limited. or it's based on our conditioning. For example, many people think that mercy means that everything becomes comfortable, everything becomes peaceful, everything becomes easy. Then they think, oh, God is merciful to me. But those who are more mature in their spiritual understanding and their spiritual development, they understand that mercy is not only something that is pleasant, mercy can be very painful and unpleasant situation or experience. But the purpose of this unpleasant experience or painful experience is for us to learn something, to learn that we don't belong to this world, to learn that we need to get detached from the material nature and to become determined to get free from the modes of material nature. So liberation means liberation from the modes of material nature, from the influence of the modes of ignorance, passion and goodness. We have been sinful for so many lifetimes, so we cannot expect to get liberation in just few years, even if it's 35 years, 40 years of practicing. This is a very short time. We have been sinful and conditioned for millions of lifetimes, so we need to be patient and continue practicing with faith and determination, and results are already there. So many results are already there, but more results would come. And the results that we want is not more comfortable material situation. The result that we want is the change of our consciousness, and the result that we want is awakening of love of God in our heart. So, as we know that people are in different religions, they are praying to God to give them something. In many religions, God is seen as an order supplier. So it's like you order something online and then they deliver it to you and you pay. And people think, my payment will be a prayer and then I should get something from God. God should, accept my prayer, take seriously my prayer, and provide everything I need for my sense gratification. And if they don't get it, if things don't happen the way they have imagined it, then they lose faith. For example, many women have given up God when in the Holocaust, in the Second World War, many of their Jewish husbands were killed. And therefore, as Arjuna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalam Himana Krishna, the mind is always agitated. The mind is always agitated. And at the end of the previous chapter in the Purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the best course for controlling the mind is to fix the mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, Mano Mayarpitam Stiram. And if one seriously engages in Krishna consciousness, that is the highest perfectional stage. All Krishna conscious activities are on the highest perfectional stage of human life. So by engaging in devotional service, one is acting on the platform of liberation, one is acting above the modes of material nature, and one is acting on the liberated platform. But why don't we feel it? Why don't we feel that we are free to move, we are free to fly, we are liberated, we feel great? Because we are still conditioned, and it takes time, and we cannot expect immediately the results. And if we would be completely liberated, then we wouldn't have a material body anymore, so we would not be here anymore. And Krishna wants that all of us who have gotten the mercy of the Lord, so much mercy, and we have a chance to get completely free from the material nature, that we also bring others to Krishna consciousness, not only we ourselves reap the benefits of Krishna consciousness, and be selfish, but that we also engage and inspire so many other people for devotional service. So we still have some karma, we still have material body, and we are using this body to preach in the material world and to bring many others to Krishna consciousness. So one has to be very patient, and the Lord is very grateful. He's very, the Lord is very pleased. He's very pleased, very inspired when a devotee is grateful. We have an example of Mukunda, who was associating with some Mayavadis, and Lord Chaitanya became displeased with him and didn't want to see him. And then devotees tried to appeal to him to accept Mukunda again, because Mukunda regretted that he was associating with Mayavadis. So Mukunda asked devotees to ask Lord Chaitanya when he will be able to have his darshan again, to see him again. And Lord Chaitanya said millions of lifetimes, in 1 million of lifetimes. And when Mukunda heard this, he became so jolly, he became so happy that this will happen. He will again see the Lord, even if it takes such a long time. He was ready to be patient, so patient for such a long time. And when devotees came back to Lord Chaitanya and told him how Mukunda reacted, he was so pleased that he said, bring him back immediately. Bring him back immediately. So, if a devotee is grateful for anything that Lord offers, then Lord is very pleased. Because also it shows the humility of a devotee, it shows the love of a devotee, his patience. Some people say that patience is love in action. If we have patience with someone, that means this person is important to us, and we are ready to wait until they improve, until they become better, for their own benefit, not so much for our benefit, but for their own happiness. So this first verse is basically introduction to the chapter. Lord Kapila Dev is addressing his mother, that he will describe different categories of the Absolute Truth, different aspects of the material world. As Srila Prabhupada says, that explain the internal energy, external energy, expansions of the Lord, incarnations of the Lord. And as we see in the Bhagavatam, there are many different departments of knowledge in understanding Krishna. So there is something for everyone. Some people are, for example, more artistic and more poetic, and they're attracted to that side of Krishna consciousness. Some people are more inclined to science, and this Sankhya philosophy is perfect for them because it explains in detail. And now I have once traveled with my friend, one devotee, my friend, from Budapest to Zagreb, Croatia, and we had a conversation in the car, and he explained that more and more modern science is actually coming closer to understanding of the universe, which is similar to the Vedic understanding, and also the atom. So quantum physics also, the highest, I would say the most advanced quantum physicists, they are coming to a conclusion that there is something else there except matter. And he wants to dedicate himself to, study and research in that field, and to use this scientific methodology and scientific discoveries to actually prove that the truths in the Bhagavatam are not some story, but that they are actually facts. So there is now these chapters are so full of knowledge, and they require very careful attention. And for example, if one understands his pure self, people speak about self-esteem, self-confidence, so many things, but the question is, what is the self? They're not clear about what is the self. They maybe think that the self is the body, the self is the mind. Some people say there is a subconscious mind, and this is also a part of the mind or part of us. They don't make this clear distinction. Who are you? Who is the self? Who is the person? And it is said that one understands that he is an eternal spirit soul, full of knowledge, full of bliss. He can get free from attachment. Sometimes devotees ask us, like, who are struggling, they ask some more experienced devotees, how can I get free from attachment? And the answer is given here in the Bhagavatam, in the next purport. One can get free from attachment to the material world and to the persons in the material world by understanding his pure self and its connection with the Supreme Self. So there are so many practical things in the Shastra that we don't use, that we don't understand. We think this is just a theory, this is something very high, but Prabhupada didn't write these books only for some people who are very advanced. He has written these books for all of us who are conditioned, and if we read them again and again, then we can understand that all solutions are already there. But we need to apply, and we need to give it a chance by applying, by trying to test it, trying to experiment, trying to see how it works in practice and what results it brings. So when the eternal self becomes freed from the spell of material nature, then this self, this living being, becomes eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. And now one, I would say, clarifying and challenging statement is also in the purport: as long as one has even a slight desire to enjoy or lord it over material nature, there is no chance of his being freed from the influence of nature's material modes. So we want liberation from the modes, we want liberation from three kleshas, adhyatmika klesha, adhibhautika klesha, and adhidayika klesha. But here, the condition is put: as long as one has even a slight desire to enjoy or lord it over material nature. So are we free from a slight desire to enjoy or lord it over material nature? Who can claim that they are free? So this is a very high condition, very high demand, but this is how it is. And in another place it is said that one has even a slight desire to enjoy material nature, he has to be born again. And again. So Shastra is giving us the goal, what to work on in relation to working on our own condition, on our own spiritual advancement, working on ourselves. Sometimes we ask a devotee, what are you working on nowadays? And they say, I'm working on myself. So that's a nice answer. This should be always there. Apart from working on some projects, maybe you're working on translating books or translating articles, or working on any kind of a project or service, but one should always work on improving himself and becoming a better servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the program is very simple. You need to, make a shift from being a controller and being an enjoyer to being a servant. It's a very simple program. But it's so hard. I mean, the road is like, it can be very, very short, but it can be also very, very long. From being a controller and being an enjoyer to being a servant. And people try to find peace in creating peaceful external condition. People say, I just want peace. So what does that mean? There is no noise. There is no people who disturb you. There is no insects who disturb you. Your mind doesn't disturb you. But in the material world, there is no peace, because the material world is created to make disturbance. So we cannot find peace in the external circumstances. We can find peace only within our heart by changing our consciousness and by developing the consciousness of a servant. And someone who has a consciousness of a servant, he can be peaceful in any situation, even if it's highly disturbing. You can be peaceful. You can be peaceful in the middle of a hurricane, in the middle of very, very disturbing Kali Yuga society, because you know who you are, you know your connection with the Lord, you know your eternal duty, you engage in devotional service, and you are safe. Only in this way one can attain peace. And Srila Prabhupada explains what is peace, quoting the Bhagavad Gita verse 529, Bhoktaramya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sukhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. One can attain peace if he understands that God is the supreme enjoyer. He is enjoyer of all austerities and all sacrifices. He is the master of all the demigods and all the planets, all the universal managers, and he is the best friend of all living entities. And when I was researching to find how Prabhupada defines honesty, he also mentioned this verse. He says honesty means to act in line, in harmony with understanding that God is the supreme enjoyer, God is the supreme master of everything, and God is the supreme friend. So that's honesty, Srila Prabhupada said. And now, if we are honest, really honest with ourselves and with others, but even more important is to be honest with ourselves, we can see that most of us have a hard time just being honest. What to speak of being spiritual or being very advanced. People try to listen about high lila of Krishna, but they don't have even basic honesty. They're still cheating themselves, cheating others, and they think they're very spiritual just because you have a little liking for maybe Krishna lila, or they want to speak about Radharani and Krishna, and this is really, really ridiculous. I hear that so-called devotees are cheating people for money, squeezing out money for them, and using all their conditioned tendencies in Krishna consciousness, not in Krishna consciousness, but in dealing with others. And people then lose faith in Krishna consciousness, even in Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, because so-called devotees are cheating them. So just to be honest is a big job, a lifetime job. What to speak of becoming devotee, becoming spiritual. Honest, first of all, honest with ourselves, to face what we need to change. And it is said that as long as we don't learn the lesson we have to learn, we have to come back again and again and again. And sometimes devotees look at their astrological chart and they say, oh my God, I had this challenge before also. My astrological astrology says, and in previous lives, and I have the same challenge. And astrologers sometimes say, in your past life you were very active, now you have to be more peaceful and more be alone. And then sometimes they say the opposite. They say, oh, you were very much alone and peaceful, now you have to be active with others. And sometimes when they hear this information, they don't like it, because someone becomes attached to being alone, to being peaceful, and then they don't want to interact with others. But now in this lifetime, it is their challenge, it is their duty to do that. Or opposite also is true. So it's not easy to surrender to the will of the Lord. It's not easy to surrender to the lessons we have to learn, but we have to do it if we want success. We are not the one who will determine how we will become successful. It's only the Lord. And one Christian preacher said that modern books tell you that it's about you, about your goals, about your dreams. Teachers, many mundane teachers, they say, oh, you can achieve your dreams, you can, go for it and achieve your goals. You have to find your purpose, or choose your purpose, choose your mission. And I also sometimes tell devotees you have to choose what you want to do. But actually, this preacher explains, you didn't create yourself, so how can you know what is your purpose? You have to ask the Creator what is your purpose. So your purpose is actually to serve Him and to please Him. It's not that you have to please yourself and achieve your goals and this and this and that. And it may sound maybe like square or cruel, or I don't know how it sounds to people, but when one discovers the purpose of his existence, it means he discovers his eternal nature. And it means this is actually the actual self, this is the actual him or her. And there is no way one will be actually unhappy in his eternal position, constitutional position, eternal nature. And especially if we have been suffering in the material world for such a long time, it's actually a relief to understand this. So we are looking for a purpose in the Shastra and from the Sadhu, Shastra and Guru, but we are not looking for a purpose, from other conditioned souls or from some speculation or from based on some material desire. This will not work. So everybody should ask, how can I discover what is my purpose? Not that you choose your purpose and you say, oh, this is my purpose. My purpose is actually to make a lot of money, get married, have a house and be happy, and then die in ignorance. Many people have this kind of goals or become famous. And then they speak about greatness, and Shastra also speaks about the greatness of the soul. I have done research and how one can become glorious also. This is also described, but it's all described in relation to devotional service and in relation to our relationship with Krishna. And sometimes even devotees are fascinated by some people, how they act in the mode of goodness, how they sacrifice and things like this. But if there is no God in all this, then this is all very temporary, and it will not bring any happiness and any lasting results. So if one is lucky to understand this, then he has a wonderful chance. But if not, then he or she has to come back again and again and again. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hare Krishna. So, are there any questions? Online, I don't think I can see. Unless somebody sends directly message to me.
It's on?
Yeah, I think it's on. I saw it's live. But I'm not getting any questions. Okay.
Just a comment.
Yes, comment.
I was just reading in the morning the Nectar of Devotion, and actually just by honor Charimamrita or seeing an arti, we get so many benefits which or rid of sins, and it's unbelievable how many benefits we got. But often we forget these things, or we don't see that it's so necessary to go to the temple. But here is so much wealth which helps us to not come in deep troubles or whatever. So it's sad that sometimes we forget about these benefits.
Yes, there are so many benefits described. Actually, these benefits are supposed to inspire us to engage in devotional service, in self-realization. And it's good to read from time to time. I always encourage devotees to read about the benefits of chanting, because we forget, we become mechanical. I have to finish my rounds, and then there is no taste. Then we look for the taste in some mundane things, watching a video, or some maybe prajalpa, talking about some mundane things. And but if one can read about the benefits of chanting the holy name, one can be inspired to actually taste this, to taste it, to enjoy in this. Although even it's not our goal to enjoy. Our goal is to give pleasure to the Lord, and the byproduct of this is our own happiness and enjoyment. But Acharyas have written so much to inspire us, so much. And also describing, as you say, describing so many benefits. So for us it's very important to read about the benefits, because we forget and we lose the motivation and everything becomes mechanical, and then we are looking for a taste in other things. And then devotional service becomes some kind of a routine. But the real thing, where your heart really is in something mundane, in something material. What really excites you? Like somebody is really excited by sports, somebody is really excited by pop music, somebody is maybe excited by some story of a hero. I don't know what else people are excited with. But it's not Krishna's pastimes, it's not the holy name, it's not devotional service, it's not pure love. And that's unfortunate.
Something was which only a liberated soul can go back to Godhead, or something like this, you said. I mean, spiritual masters or so. I don't think it's...
Spiritual master?
Spiritual masters, they don't talk from such, or like Prabhupada, right? And I'm wondering, I mean, with some devotees, for me, it's clear they go back to Godhead, but that maybe just for the preaching, that they are still in the material world, but they could actually go...
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's a kind of question, what you would say. That it gives exceptions, it devotees...
I don't know. I think Krishna knows who is who. I don't know who is who, but definitely we can see some devotees are so Krishna conscious that they can easily go back to Godhead. Krishna can accept them. They are ready, they are surrendered. But they are still here because they want to bring more people back to Godhead. I think this is a very realistic analysis. I think that's true. Okay. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you everyone for listening online.